Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk about perhaps the most unique and unusual meeting I've ever had in my life. And that was, I've always worked as a singer here and there, and I was singing with a group in various things at the Paramount Theater in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Now, Asbury Park, this is around 1984, 1985. Asbury Park had seen better days at that point, and it was before it went through its renaissance. And of course, you had the convention hall, the Paramount Theater, you had all kinds of great old structures there, and that's where the Morro Castle had come up on shore after catching fire. It ended up in Asbury Park. And there were fancy hotels there that had seen better days, too. Now, the talk was, all around Asbury Park while I was there, was that they were thinking of trying to make it a center for gambling, another Atlantic city. And I thought that was pretty cool, and I figured it would bring a lot more life and probably a lot of work for singers. And so the thing is that after finishing what we were doing at the Paramount Theater, I went on my way, and my hotel was down the way from the boardwalk. So what I used to do, because I was all dressed up in a tuxedo and I just didn't look quite right walking down the boardwalk, I used to walk under the boardwalk. And there was a path underneath with doors and whatever that led your way through. And it was kind of a neat, a bit of solitude to a degree because you wouldn't be bothered. And performers would often go through that way. Well, after leaving and walking through Convention Hall, I got under the boardwalk and started to walk. And as I was walking through, I went through a door, and there, like almost a vignette from a show, underneath a light holding paper and looking at it, was Johnny Cash and June Carter. And I stopped in my tracks, and I looked up at them, smiled, and they looked at me and smiled, and I said, Johnny Cash and June Carter. And they said yes. They waved me over, so I came over, and we chatted a little bit. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I said, this is the last place I ever expected to meet you, and we all had a good laugh. Well, we shook hands, and I told them my name and what I do. I was a singer, and they wished me good luck, and then I went on my way. And that was it. And that was the only time I ever met Johnny Cash or June Carter. One thing that's really amazing about Johnny Cash, which I had never realized until I met him personally, was how tall he was. He was a tall man, like 6'4" or something like that. I mean, I was looking up at him, and quite a bit taller than June Carter, but she was pretty tall too, and she was wearing these really high boots with heels, and she was pretty tall too, and they were on like a wooden walkway, and so they were much higher than me, and it was an interesting thing. It was like almost paying homage. But to understand why they were there is that Johnny Cash was looking into making Asbury Park a center for casinos, gambling. And that's why he was there. And his idea was to buy up property and hotels before the law came in effect. Well, the law never came into effect. But Johnny Cash would be in Asbury Park quite often. He had a hotel that he had purchased, and he would appear at the Paramount Theater quite often. And I'm sure after leaving, if he and June Carter wanted to stroll a little bit, I'm sure they took a walk under the boardwalk. I would imagine in this day and age, You can't do that anymore. I'm sure that's all long gone. But this is back in a time where things like that really didn't come to mind, like with security or bombs or terrorists. So, a quick little thought about a very unique meeting with a very famous country singer and his wife, who is an equally famous country singer, Johnny Cash and June Carter, under the boardwalk.